Following a request from a viewer, I've decided to do a Dunsparce solo run as my next solo run challenge. Since Dunsparce is a Gen 2 Pokemon, there is a wide variety of games to play for it, but for this run, I decided to do Pokemon Ultra Moon since it was more accessible for me. Despite this thing having a new evolution, we will be stuck with the version that cannot utilize the Eviolite, but it's not a huge issue because Dunsparce doesn't have the worst stats in the game. It also has a decent level up moveset, so it wasn't the worst experience. Its most notable stat is the HP stat with 100 base, while the other stats are 70 or lower. The ability Serene Grace gives us many nice benefits. So without further ado, here's the Dunsparce solo run experience in Pokemon Ultra Moon. Off to start, our Dunsparce gets a plus special defense nature, minus defense nature, which isn't worst. Its starting moveset Rage, Defense Curl, Rollout, Pursuit is also viable. The early game didn't feel too bad, as most fights including the early HAL fights were won by simply setting up Defense Curls and just using Rollout to run everything down. This was our main way of dealing damage, as Rage was not dealing nearly enough. We suffered our first death to the trainer school principal as I underestimated the damage. Regardless, it was time to fight Ilima. Trial Captain Ilima was the same strat as all the previous fights, being setting up defense curls to tank damage from her young goose and healing up whenever I got low. From there, it was just click, roll out, and win. Next boss was Totem Eradicate, which didn't have the raw damage to actually threaten us, so thankfully it was just another easy setup into kill. Enjoy this moment because it's the last time we'll be able to enjoy an easy totem battle, or so you would think. Well, I say easy, but still, this took me forever. After that, we eventually have to fight HAL again, but like most HAL fights in this run, it's so unimportant due to how easy they are. Nothing on his team really threatens me that much yet, other than the eventual Raichu, which can deal high damage, but even so, everything else on the team, like a starter, really do not do much damage. However, after this easy fight comes an insanely challenging fight. Kahuna Hala. I used Yawn to try put Machop to sleep so I can set up defense curls. However, it used focus energy into some crit revenges, instantly taking me out. This crit method means that even if I abuse X items, I would still lose many times until I get lucky. So eventually it became a trial of error of me putting it to sleep while using X defenses until I can max out my defenses and slowly taking it out with Mudslap. Oh yeah, did I also mention how I got rid of Rage for Mudslap and Pursuit for Yang? I still want to believe it was the better decision to take, but it made these fights really long and sometimes impossible without running out of moves and using struggle. After many losses, I decided to do some training. I raised Billy to Dunsparce from 17 to 19 as I tried again. I used the same strategy, but this time I had higher stats after leveling, so it made it easier to take attacks. So even after taking some crit karate chops, I was able to mudslap and enough to not be able to hit me that often, allowing me to max out my defenses and slowly taking it out while I went into sleep to avoid the revenge damage. And with my chop down, everything else was actually a piece of cake to deal with since I didn't have to worry about critical hits as much. After reaching the new island, I was struggling so much due to switching out Rollout for Ancient Power because this meant my only attacking moves were Mudslap and Ancient Power, and as you can guess, this was not nearly enough moves as I ran out of PP against the random trainers Munchlax. You find out good for old friend HAL again at the Panola Ranch, and even with our limited moveset, he still proves to be just as weak as the previous times. However, after reaching level 21, we finally got the best possible move for Dunsparce, Body Slam, a move that has a 60% chance to paralyze after Serene Grace, and with a new normal type move, it means we can utilize the Normalium Z. After swiftly taking out Gladion, we take out the Water Trial. This trial was quite easy as you can just spam a Body Slam on the Raconid. The Fire Trial took me 2 tries as I didn't expect Marowak to use Brick Break. So attempt 2, I popped the next defend first as I used Detect for some reason, as I took out Salazzle in one hit and slowly dealt with Marowak using another X defend and slowly whittling it down using our newly obtained Drill Run. The final trial of this island, Totem Lurantis, was by far the worst one I've ever had to deal with though. The main issue of this one was the SOS Pokemon. Lurantis was already annoying enough, but SOS Kecleon would set up Sunny Day so that Lurantis did not need to charge up Solar Blade, and if I ever got the Lurantis low, it would use Synthesis and heal back to full. Not only that, but spamming X defense wouldn't help since the Kecleon would also use Screech and Dizzy Punch. My second attempt, I even ran out of PP before I could kill it because I tried taking out the Kecleon, but because I couldn't take out the Lurantis fast enough, a new SOS Pokemon showed up, being Compe, who could use Flower Shield and Heal to heal and boost the Lurantis defense. The next day, I did some slight training and attempted again. This time I did the same strategies, spamming X defend off the start to nullify the Lurantis' damage. After getting Dizzy Punched, I was fighting my way using Body Slam through the confusion. After paralyzing Kecleon, I decided to use this chance to take out Lurantis. Luckily, the best circumstances lined up for me in the luckiest way possible. The sun went away as the Lurantis went for Solar Blade, which meant it was stuck in the turn of charging. I used Ancient Power and got the Omni Boost first try. Then after landing one Body Slam, the next turn my Quick Claw activates and I take it out before it can use Synthesis, landing us a win finally. During the fight against Plumeria, I learned Coil, which ended up becoming one of the best moves for us as it allowed us to set up our attack and defense simultaneously. We fight Kahuna Olivia next, but with the newly obtained Coil, it was just a piece of cake. We just set up Coils against Anorith in the sweep with Drill Run. It was just as easy as that. So after that, we promptly destroyed Nihilego, aka Lucamine's secret boyfriend, as we reached the third island and once again swiftly destroy Hao. Totem Togedemaru was another Coil setup into Drill Run kills. Skarmory may have been bulky, but due to its low damage, it was not an issue. The Torment it gave me wasn't too bad either, as it just alternated between Coil and Drill Run. Guzma was the next big fight, as it actually took us 2 attempts because of an unfortunate range the Masquerain got into killing me. Totem Mimikyu was next, and this one took me a couple attempts too, which is not surprising since my stab and best move was unusable. However, my biggest problem with this totem is once again the stupid SOS Pokemon. Bayonet is especially annoying because of Curse that takes a quarter of my health each turn, so even if I spam X defense and max out my defenses, it doesn't matter because I only get 1 turn to attack before I need to heal up again. Not only that, but it also uses Will-O-Wisp to deal even more chip and reduce my damage. In one attempt, I decided to take out the Bayonet, but the Jellicent that came afterwards ended up using Spite and taking out all of my PP for the only 2 moves I had to deal damage, right as the Mimikyu was only 1 attack away from being defeated. Finally, in one attempt, I was able to set up Coils to full before I took out everything, starting with the SOS months, because by setting up my stats to full, it meant that I wouldn't run out of PP before taking out Mimikyu. We come face to face with Guzma again as I just spam Coils till I was strong enough to one-shot everything, as I was able to tank enough hits from Masquerain to not need the next item. Despite beating his ass in his home territory, we had to fight him again in the Aether Paradise, where it was not so much different other than almost being taken out by crit Razor Shells. Now, after looking back on this, it wasn't just 2 Razor Shell crits, it was 4 back-to-back turns to crits. Crit First Impression into 2 crit Razor Shells into a crit Sucker Punch, which is insanely stupid. But with that, Guzma down, Lucamine next. I'm technically not required to be Lucamine here to proceed with the story, but I still attempted to. It wasn't that difficult as I just set up a Coil on Clefable before deciding it might be better to just kill it off. When she sent out Beware next, I used a chance to set up because apparently this thing does not have a fighting move, meaning it cannot kill me. So easy to set up and to sweep until my Lotix starts blasting me with water. But with my own liquids, I could out heal it. Totem Kamo was something I fear due to not having the capability to just due to it having the capability to just absolutely decimate me with Drain Punch. So on the second attempt, my bad, I just decided to use X items instead, but with no variant, it also meant I needed to raise my special defense, and after raising all my defenses and setting up Coils, it was just healed up to full and Z Body Slam into a normal one to seal the deal. Finally, we reach Ultra Necrozma, one of the hardest bosses, if not the hardest boss in all Pokemon games. Unsurprisingly, this took me a couple of attempts, as my strategy was to spam X items, but with a couple of crits, it made me take a couple attempts before I was actually able to max myself out to the point where it couldn't deal damage to me. Anyway, Mina time. She's not particularly difficult since I can just set up Coils, but the double Intimidate at the start is slightly bothersome. Trial Captain Ilima is the same old Coil sweep against Shoes. Trial Captain Lana needed me to take out Lantern since it had a lot of huge firepower. Once Cloyster came out, I could just set up and sweep though. Trial Captain Kiawe had a pretty strong Arcanine blasting flare blitzes at me, but because it was physical, I was also able to just set up and go for the same sweep. Trial Captain Nunu wasn't much of a challenge either, since Sableye doesn't have that much offensive pressure. Finally, after that, we can take on Totem Rabombi, which sets up 2 Quiver Dances as I go for a Z Body Slam to get it to 60% health. I level +4 Bug Buzz though, as Dunsparce ends up landing a crit Body Slam due to friendship, scoring me a first attempt win at this totem, final totem. Kuna Hapu time, and this the first time I ended up underestimating her Golurk's damage, thinking I could set up another coil, but ended up failing. On the second attempt, I made sure not to make the same mistake as I fully set up and proceeded to sweep her. Before I take on the Elite Four, I take on Gladion. After setting up a few coils, I wanted to paralyze the Crobat that was being annoying, but in the turn I healed, he switched into Lucario. After living in Aura Sphere, I was able to take it out, and Zora came in with a powerful Z move, but we still lived through it as we took it out, along with Silvally and Crobat that followed. With this settled, it was time for the Elite Four. I decided to start things off with Acerola, aka the Ghost type, as I believe that one would be the most difficult one. She leads off with Bayonet, which makes things easy for me as I can just set up coils and wreak havoc. However, Delmise and Palisand somehow lived +6 attacks against me, but either way, I made it through without much of an issue. I took on Olivia next, and she leads off with Model, and it being a physical Pokemon with no fighting moves, it meant another coil sweep. Malayan leads off with Klefki, and despite it spamming Flash Cannon, it wasn't a problem since he never went for Torment anyways. It didn't do much damage as I easily set up and swept them. Bird Gopher led off with Braviary, and despite it landing powerful Brave Birds, it wasn't enough to take out our little worm here. Finally, it was time for Howl, and despite all the previous fights being easy, this was a different story. For starters, his starter Pokemon was finally fully evolved and therefore had the Ghost typing. He leads off with the Alolan Raichu, who misses the first Focus Blast, allowing us to take it out in 2 hits after getting hit by only one of them. Taurus came out, but the problem was that it was dealing way too much damage, making it so I had to spam potions because I never got a chance to set up coils. The Taurus eventually took itself out as I ended up living on 1 HP because of friendship. Vaporeon comes out after I heal up and get some coils set up. After maxing out my stats, I take it out and Crabominable follows. Ever since I had maxed out my defenses, I didn't have to worry about this thing and was able to take it out after taking a massive crit Ice Hammer. With 2 Pokemon left and my stats maxed out, I thought I had this in the bag. However, Deciduli came out with an immediate Z Doom Bloom, and it ended up critting and taking me out from 3/4 of my health. So it's time to try again. Same stuff practically happens again, but this time Deciduli didn't crit me, so I was able to take it out with Rock Tomb and eventually the Noivern that followed. And with that, we have done it. We have beaten Howl and become the champion of Alola using only a Dunsparce. The final game time was 26 hours and 52 minutes. This is with speed up. And as you've seen before, my final moveset was Body Slam, Coil, Rock Tomb, and Drill Run, which was my main set for the majority of the playthrough. Now, before I end things off, I will say my next solo runs will be focusing on completing Project S, and you may be wondering what Project S is, and I'll explain. It's a Google Sheet listing every single Pokemon and whether somebody has ever completed a solo run of it or not. While it's not complete, I plan to fill out the mons that have been solo run before. My goal for my next solo runs is to ensure that the Pokemon I am solo running has never been solo run before by anyone else and therefore could have a space filled. For this project, I am also considering Mega Pokemon as a different entity because since a lot of them have vastly different stats and abilities. My next plan is to do solo run speed runs of the Gen 1 Megas and Pokemon Auras, so look forward to it. Join my Discord, follow my Twitch to follow my challenge run journeys, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!